Alright, it's that time of month again. We are talking about all the books that I read in the month of November. Finally, I'm actually uploading on time. Can you believe that? But yeah, I read, I think it was 12 books in the month of November. So some of these are going to be on the shorter side, and then there was, I think, 1 or 2 that were on the longer side. Listen, I'm still slumping. But yeah, some of the books I really enjoyed, and I'm so excited to talk about them. So we will probably start off with the paperbacks or physical books. Okay, so Graveyard Shift by ML Rio, I enjoyed. I thought I wasn't going to like this one because I've heard a lot of bad kind of negative reviews saying how this is a short novella and it's nothing like If We Were Villains. Hold on. Okay, so it's the same author. If We Were Villains, I loved. I gave this one 5 stars. I barely ever give books 5 stars, so you know it's good. This one I felt like it was still really good, and for 110, 20 pages, whatever, however long this book was, I did really enjoy it. It's still read like Dark Academia. You have all of these, I think it was 5 individuals who team up together to kind of solve the mystery that is happening in the graveyard, because that's where they meet up, and then they notice that there's a empty grave, so it picks up from there. So I really enjoyed that one. This is the last book in the Twisted series, and the first 3 I felt like were okay. I didn't really see the hype for them, whereas this one I feel like is really deserved, and I really understand why Anna is so hyped up because of this book. I related to Stella with her anxiety and just with everything that was happening in this book. I felt like I really related, but also Christian, the man that he is, the morally gray man that he is my favorite in the book series, if anyone is curious. Okay, then with my Kindle books, I read A Deal with the Devil, and let me tell you, I actually really didn't like this one, and this was my first book that I read by the author, and I was seeing this author going around on Bookstagram at some stage, and I just felt like with this book, I will give the author another chance, but with this book specifically, I felt like the author was trying too hard to make, you know, the trauma for these characters to happen, for them to deal with it, and just with everything that was happening, I just was like, okay. I like the tropes, but I felt like I just didn't connect with the book, with the characters, or with really anything. I mean, happens, but I don't think it just stood out for me personally, if that makes sense. Okay, The Coworker by Freida McFadden, I did like it, but I didn't love it, and I feel like I am going to slowly read all of Freida McFadden's books because I feel like they are worth it, because there's not that many thriller authors out there that are actually like thrilling, and you're, I don't know, does that make sense? But for this one, I felt like every time she kept mentioning a turtle, I was just like getting a little bit frustrated, and it was a little predictable, to be honest, like what is going to happen, especially if you are a thriller book girly and you've read so many thrillers. I feel like this one is going to be very obvious, so I probably wouldn't recommend this one, but if you love Freida, yeah, sure, go ahead. Okay, When She Falls, it's a dark romance mafia book, and personally I felt like I really enjoyed the first 2 books in the series, and this one just kind of felt a bit more flat for me. Gemma's character wasn't redeemed, that's to begin with. I just didn't find her character redeemable. I didn't find her enjoyable, or her story. I just didn't even feel like it was really her story, because we were focused so much on, I feel like, the next character's book, on where it's gonna go, and a lot of this was being talked about her other sister, Cleo, I think it was her name. So I mean, I was just like, okay, like it's not a terrible book, but I wouldn't recommend this one. Okay, another Freida McFadden book, I'd be surprised. This one is a novella though, so it was really short, and it's from the Housemaids series installment. I have to say I was a little bit bored with this one. I thought it was okay, nothing spectacular happened. I was kind of hoping for like this big twist or reveal or something like big happening to shock me, and when it didn't, I was just like, oh, okay, like, I mean, okay, with Run and Hide, I was still a little bit in the mood in like the spooky season kind of vibes that I was looking for, and I've never heard of this author before, any while. But I read Run and Hide, and it was like relatively short. I think it was 290 pages long, so it wasn't like too long. And with dark romances, you just never know where it can go. Like, they're supposed to be entertaining, and some I just like, if it cringes me out, I rate it really low. This one I didn't rate the lowest. I kind of enjoyed the spooky aesthetic. Like, the setting was atmospherical, if that makes sense, with the graveyards and just like with the way that it's dark, if that makes sense. But so in a way I was glad that this wasn't like over the top, like too much spice, so it felt a bit more on the slower burn with this one. But the way that some things were phrased, it was kind of cringing me out, because like they're step siblings, so they're not related, but the way that some of the things were phrased, it made you feel like that they were, the way that they were talking. Oh, but you're my brother, and he's like, no, I'm your stepbrother, or something like that. And I was just like, well, did you really have to say that, you know? So I don't know, wouldn't recommend that one either. Then I read a poetry book because I was just in the mood for a poetry book, and this one is Flower Crowns and Fearsome Things by Amanda Lovelace. I read some other Amanda Lovelace poetry books and I did enjoy them. This one I felt like I enjoyed the least out of the ones that I've read. There were some things that stood out for me, but I felt like overall it was just like average. I wasn't obsessed with the book, so I mean, still kind of had a good time. Then I read another novella trying to get myself into the festive spirit. So this one is Christmas Presents by Tarah dewitt. I think that's how you pronounce her name. But this was my first book reading anything by the author, and it's basically 3 short stories from 3 of her other books put into like one novella. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I feel like novellas are a really easy way to tell if you are going to love an author's books or not, whereas I read this one and I was just still on the fence if I was going to enjoy her books, because I felt like there wasn't anything spectacular in them. I didn't have like the best of time. They didn't really even feel so festive for me, so I was just kind of like, it was okay, but like again, I wouldn't really recommend this one. Then I finally finished Empire of Storms. So this one is supposed to be a tandem read between Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, and both of those books are over 600 pages long, and so basically it's like 1,000 page plus book, if that makes sense, if you tandem read them together. And personally, halfway I quit the tandem read. I felt like it was just too much, and so I just finished this one first. I just haven't finished the other one, but I'm halfway on the other one, and I really enjoy this one. This one is where I was so invested in the story, and this one really made me realize how much I love Throne of Glass, and made me finally realize that I actually enjoy Throne of Glass series more than ACOTAR books, which is shocking, because who would have thought? Who would have thought? Again, I can't really say much about it because like it's like the 5th book in the series, I think, so I just really enjoyed where the book is going. And then last but not least, I read another short story by Fyodor Dostoevsky. So White Nights, I think it's like 60 pages long, so it's like short, but I think my issue with it was because the way that it was translated. Not every book can be translated, just like the way that some things are phrased, you can't translate them. The way that the Russian dialect is being spoken, as a Russian person you will understand from where the story is going, whereas when it's translated it just felt kind of flat for me. Like, you can't translate everything is what I'm trying to say, and so it didn't make so much sense when it's translated. All I think I understood was, I think a man who was friend-zoned, I think twice, felt depressive. And I mean, I wish I read this in Russian, to be honest. I think it would have made a lot more sense, whereas I just kept zoning out. Yeah, I wish I would have loved this more, but sadly I didn't. And it's fine, not every classic book I'm going to be obsessed with, but this one just isn't at the top of my list. But yeah, that's the 12 books I have read in the month of November. Let me know if you've read any of these and what were your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.